There are many ways to exchange data between VISSIM and other programs. An efficient way that reduces coding errors is to transfer the build transportation system model from VISSIM into other programs using a direct export method. The export from a VISSIM model to build a VISSIM simulation model is carried out through an abstract network model, or ANM. Starting from version 5.0, VISSIM can import the ANM data format and build the initial simulation model that includes most modeling elements, such as network hierarchy, right-of-way, speed variation and regulations, signal control, and others. Modifications to the original VISSIM network can also be added later to the built VISSIM simulation model, and only the parts affected by the VISSIM modifications will be adjusted then. This is the ANM adaptive import feature in VISSIM. When the users are satisfied with the current VISSIM network, they can save it in an ANM data format through the ANM module. Among other export modules, ANM exports are found from VISSIM's File menu. Go to Export and select the item VISSIM ANM. The ANM Export Parameters dialog opens. A complete ANM export through this dialog will generate two files in XML format, a .anm file and a .anm routes file. The .anm file stores all the network data information, and the .anm routes file stores the traffic demand and vehicle routing information. ANM Export allows users to separate these two classes of data import in different processes, and correspondingly, VISSIM can import the data separately as well. The ANM File panel allows the user to store the VISSIM network information at a designated location. If you check the network data and click the Browse button, the user will be able to navigate to a specific location to save the .anm file. Users can repeat the process to save the .anm routes file. If the option matrices is checked, the .anm routes file will also contain all the relative matrices within the VISSIM network. This will allow the VISSIM model to use dynamic assignment module for vehicle routing in the simulation. If the option is not checked, only static routing will be possible in VISSIM. The tab Vehicle Categories lets the user specify the vehicle types to be modeled in VISSIM simulation. All transportation systems in the VISSIM model are listed in the left column, and users can choose one of 6 predefined vehicle types for a specific transport system. If the users do not want to export certain transport systems, the option Do Not Export can be selected from the drop-down list, and the export will skip the travel demand and routing for this transport system. The tab Driving Behavior lets the user specify the driving behavior parameter sets for different types of links. VISSIM has 5 default driving behavior parameter sets to characterize the detailed interaction between individual vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians. For each link type, the users can determine the appropriate set of driving behavior parameters for this type of facility. For example, freeway driving, urban street driving, or sidewalks. When multiple link types are essentially the same types of facilities, the driving behavior parameters can be set at the same time. Simply hold the Control key down and select the link type numbers, and click Multiple. The user can choose the corresponding driving behavior parameters set and click OK. All the links with the selected link types will be exported to VISSIM with the same driving behavior. The tab Time Interval lets the user specify the modeling period that the VISSIM model was built for. This information will be used by VISSIM Import to determine the simulation period. This important step must be correctly entered, as this will determine the demand level for the VISSIM simulation. The last tab, PUT, gives the user the option to specify the layout of the public transit stops if this information is known. The layout includes the stop lengths or the bus turnout lengths. Both can be selected from the stop point attributes. All entered export settings can be saved in a parameter file that can be loaded later for different scenarios. Click Save, and the users are prompted to save the .anmp file. The next time the export dialog is reopened, the user can load the same export setting by clicking Open and locating the saved .anmp file. All the saved export settings will be loaded and ready for export. In many applications, the users would like to have the VISSIM assignment results as the vehicle routing for VISSIM simulation. This is enabled by the Saving Paths option in VISSIM. Before executing the VISSIM assignment, exit the Export menu by clicking Cancel and go to Menu, then Calculate, and finally Procedures, and select the Functions tab. Expand the PRT functions tree and select the Assignment branch. At the Save Assignment Results panel, select the Save Paths as Connections option. Go to the similar approach for PUT functions and specify the Save Paths as Connections option as well. Once all export settings are properly set up, simply open the saved parameters for the VISSIM ANM Export and hit the OK button. The exporting process will start and the two files, .anm and .anm routes, will be written to the specified locations. You may see dialogues that warn you about potential issues found during the export process. You can choose to view them or ignore them, but they are always available to view later in VISSIM. In VISSIM, the import can be successfully done by selecting these two corresponding files, ANM and ANM routes.